Welcome to Discovering. It's February 2024, and a topic that is still dominating the conversations of sportsmen and women and wildlife officials is last season's deer harvest. Is our UP deer herd and our traditions of deer hunting and deer camp in jeopardy?
A lot of people have walked away from deer hunting. Camps have been for sale.
The hunters aren't seeing the deer, and they're going to go someplace else.
We do not enjoy poor harvest numbers, bad seasons, people telling us that they're not seeing deer and that their kids are not interested.
I spoke to Chad Stewart of the DNR Wildlife Division and a few UP sportsmen on their thoughts about the 2023 deer harvest, impacts on our deer population, and what they feel can be done to improve it. That's all tonight, right here on Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone, forest thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak, surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields, call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill, the eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
"2023 was one of, if not the lowest deer harvest on record in the UP. Reported numbers show a UP-wide decrease of 25% from 2022's reported harvest, with 4 western counties with a 40% or more reduction in deer harvest.
In the UP, we had just shy of 17,000 deer reported harvested through our online app. About 75% of those, a little over 12,600, were antler deer, and about 4,300, or about 25%, were antlerless deer. The harvest was way down in the west end. Keweenaw was down 41%. Houghton was down just shy of 31%. Ontonagon was down 40%. Gogebic was down about 39%. Going over to Iron, you're at about 38% down. Baraga's down about 37%. Marquette County's down about 40%. Still down everywhere. Dickinson was down 23.5%. Even Menominee was down 18%. Delta 20% down. Alger 23%. Schoolcraft about 23.5%. Luce 20%. Mackinac about 14.5%. And Chippewa County was down about 12.5%.
We are in year 2 of the mandatory harvest reporting, and the DNR is still trying to determine how those numbers stack up to previous harvest survey estimates and their accuracy.
Those numbers could change based on, the report that comes through and the surveys that are done at the end of the year. But I'm still expecting them to be down and down fairly substantially.
My biggest question to Chad: was this low harvest a surprise to the DNR, or did they see it coming?
I don't know if anybody saw this level of drop coming. One of our researchers up there has developed a sort of a predictive model that works really well in terms of estimating what the overall buck harvest is going to be in the Upper Peninsula. And it looks at some of the camp survey data that we have. It also looks at some of the recent trends that we've been seeing from winter severity. It projected it to be very similar to last year, 2023, just very similar to 2022, maybe down a little bit. And certainly what we're seeing is a more dramatic decline than that.
The other sportsmen I talked to were not surprised.
We're a little disappointed in the deer season, and hasn't really been a surprise to us.
Deer number has been going down for a long time. And I've said before, it's been, pretty much the last 20 years, deer numbers have been going down.
The DNR estimates the deer population based on deer harvest. Was 2023's low harvest indicative of a low deer herd, or was it just a poor hunting season?
I mean, when you compare our consistent ways of estimating, I think it's fair to say that our deer herd is certainly down and down considerably in many areas. I think there's a couple things happening. One, our ability to recover deer is in the Upper Peninsula is really struggling right now. You look at some of those counties that I referenced that are down 30 to 40% from last year in terms of just harvest reporting. And certainly the long-term trend supports those continued declines. Many of those areas we've not allowed antlerless harvest to, and we're still seeing a deer herd that is unable to recover, even pulling complete pressure off from our deer regulations. What that's telling us is that there are external factors besides hunters that are controlling our deer population from rebounding. And, we've all talked about what those factors can be. And
there are factors limiting our deer herd that the DNR and the hunting public do agree on. How much of a role each factor plays is what has been widely and heatedly debated across the UP, with hunters and Michigan DNR officials offering up different explanations.
Obviously, the predator topic is one that is first and foremost and dominating a lot of discussion. I think it absolutely needs to continue to be part of that discussion. And wolves are a major part of that discussion. I don't think we should necessarily discount the impact of coyotes as well, though. Even potentially been issues brought up and concerns with bear numbers as well.
Gary Gorniak believes wolves are one of the biggest factors currently affecting our deer herd, and having an accurate count on wolves would help.
My name is Gary Gorniak. I'm Vice President of the Upper Sportsmen's Alliance. I'm President of the Straits Area Sportsmen's Club, and I am Vice Chair of the East DNR Citizen Advisory Council. We have been talking to the Natural Resources Commission and the DNR about problems that are happening within the Upper Peninsula and are affecting our deer herd. One of the problems we're having is they're saying the wolf population is at least 631. Well, we seem to believe that there's a lot more. I think the average wolf population will be up around 2,000, average. And when you're trying to calculate the damage that 631 wolves will do compared to the damage of 2,000 wolves, there's a substantial difference. And it's pretty much agreed upon that one wolf will take out about 30 deer a year. So those are some big numbers. What's happening now is the wolves are in the deer yards and they're rousting the deer. So what is happening is that these deer are utilizing a lot of the energy that was meant to make so they get the winter. They're using that energy to get away from the wolves. Our old head wildlife guy used to call that secondary predation. We want to manage wildlife. We want the right amount of wolves. We want the right amount of deer.
Some are concerned there may not be enough deer for the high predator load and hunters.
When the federal wolf plan was put together and even the state one, they both talk about ensuring enough prey for wolves and for hunters. And so here we are, hunters are now, we're talking about cutting back on our take again here because of lack of deer, hey? So it's like, are we falling short on this? Most people feel like we are.
A predator-prey survey was completed back in 2019 to see what impact predators have on our declining deer herd.
That predator-prey study showed what impact those predators have on fawn survival. Coyotes were determined to have responsible for 21% of fawn mortality, and black bears 19%, almost the same. We have a minimum of 10,000 adult bears that are at least a year old in the UP. Add it up. It's 30 to 50,000 minimum that bears kill fawns every year. Black bears have been a part of the UP for many years. The fact that wolves are new, relatively new compared to black bears, they tend to blame wolves. However, when you add mortality from black bears on top of mortality from wolves and coyotes and bobcats, it becomes more significant. So it's all additive.
Because wolves are federally listed as endangered in the Great Lakes area and the DNR cannot manage the wolf population, Richard feels the DNR should issue more bear tags to bring the bear population down to help the deer herd.
I think that's important for hunters to understand the impact bears have on the deer population and to support and lobby for more bear licenses to better manage our bear and provide more recreational opportunity and more revenue for the DNR.
It's agreed, quality deer habitat is a huge issue from one end of the UP to the other, across state, federal, commercial, and private land. The UP Habitat Work Group was formed back in 2015 in response to the poor deer harvest then, identifying key deer wintering complexes and making recommendations. And sportsmen's clubs like the Straits area have worked on habitat. But has it been enough?
No, we've done a lot of work, but compared to the whole UP, it's like a grain of sand on a beach. It's not enough. It needs to be desperately enhanced. And I know the DNR talks a lot about, okay, you know, we only control 20% of the Upper Peninsula. There should be something, and a lot of the deer yards are on private land. Well, there should be some sort of maybe a tax credit or something where the private landowners can leave and enhance these deer yards, okay?
I kind of feel like if we can manage these deer wintering complexes much like they do with the GEMS, the grouse enhancement areas where they do intensive management, they do that too downstate with these state game areas. They go in and they plant things, they, make certain cuts and try to do, like I say, intensive management here where they would, get some food on the ground or get some food coming up, essentially, which is better yet.
And we know what deer like. Deer like early successional forests. So the best way to do that is to make sure that there is plenty of browse, plenty of, high quality forage throughout the summertime. But also because this is sort of at the edge of their range in this geographic area, we know that they are subject to really bad winter conditions. And the fact that deer exhibit migratory behaviors in many parts of the UP sort of tells you that there needs to be a priority on some of those wintering habitats as well. And I think we've fallen short in that in recent decades, and it'll take time to recover from that. But we know what the issue is. It's just a matter of how to fix it, so we can get out of some of these cycles that we're seeing.
I have these huge concerns with what's going on with our hemlock. DNR says that we've lost something like 97% of our hemlock between 1850 and the year 2000. Well, since 2000, we're still cutting and harvesting hemlock. A number of the commercial forest landowners are cutting it basically just to get rid of it. There's very little timber value in it, but they're trying to get rid of it to make room for more maple. At least that's my thoughts on it here. The deer like to migrate from one stand of hemlock to another stand of hemlock on their way to the deer yard or wintering complex. When you take those stands of hemlock out and it's just maple, they just walk through there. They don't even stop. Okay. So what happens is the deer go right to the yard, and then they end up being in the yard a whole lot longer. So if they're in the wintering complex longer, then they're using up the food, they're burning up their fat reserves, and you end up with more dead deer. As we lose hemlock and cedar, we lose that cover. I kind of feel like whatever landowners can do, whatever they can do to save those trees and do what they can for habitat, I think that's really a key thing. Whatever we can do to help deer be super healthy going into winter, or whatever we can do to help them with early food in the spring.
There are currently grants available to private landowners for deer habitat improvement.
We actually just had a a grant proposal go out earlier this week. It's called our Deer Habitat Improvement Program Initiative, that will allow individuals to compete for up to $100,000 that we're providing for habitat work across the UP, and a special emphasis on our deer wintering complexes.
Information about the Deer Habitat Improvement Grants is on the DNR's website. Brian Whitens is working on a series of stories on deer habitat in the UP, and we will have those on air soon. The UP's severe winters have been blamed for keeping the deer herd numbers low. However, deer numbers used to rebound after milder winters, but it doesn't appear they are rebounding anymore.
But it's the frequency of those winters that deer are experiencing, and their subsequent recovery from it is really certainly impacting, I think, our herd's ability to rebound.
But there's nothing we can do about winter weather, or is there? Richard P. Smith believes part of the problem was trying to carry too many deer through tough winters by strict antler point restrictions.
Restrictive harvest regulations in the UP that result in trying to carry too many deer through our severe winters. When you try and carry too many deer through severe winters, it increases winter losses and does extreme damage to the winter habitat.
In listening to all four of these sportsmen, regardless which you think plays the largest role in our declining deer herd, all agree it's the compounding of each factor: predators, severe winters, and poor habitat, all on top of each other.
I don't believe this is a singular issue problem that is causing some of the low numbers that we're experiencing. I believe it's like an onion. There's multiple layers to this. And I think we need to start addressing all three of those topics that are out there, at least what we can control in terms of improving management.
So what can be done? In response to this past deer season, the DNR is creating a deer management initiative.
And I know I'm happy to see that the NRC, Natural Resources Commission, has asked to form these deer management initiative groups. I'm hopeful that people come to the table with real interest in doing something.
Basically what it is we were developing two different work groups, one specific to the Upper Peninsula, one specific to the Lower Peninsula. And we're going to have a couple biologists on it from staff and a law enforcement officer. But the majority of the group will be made up of members of the public, and many of those will be stakeholder leaders, that are representing a larger group, but also at large or non-affiliated individuals as well. And it's to really help co-create what the future management of deer looks like. So we'll be able to tap into everybody's sort of personal experiences. We'll try to set a level playing field for everyone in terms of, bringing forward the data and information that we use to develop those recommendations. And then we'll sit down and have some really difficult conversations. And that effort should conclude in early May. The hope is to try to get something in place before we can, before the 2024 season and get in front of our Natural Resources Commission.
We have the deer initiative. I'm happy about that. Okay, hopefully it'll progress. I don't like some of the stuff that's within it. They're telling me they want to put non-deer hunters on the initiative. I'm not real happy about that. It's just, you're not going to put, if you have a hiking trails group or committee, you don't put ATV people on hiking groups' tails, right? Because you're not going to get nothing done, okay? You've got to put deer hunters, people that are avid deer hunters and that want to work to get the situation better.
It's going to be a long road to recover our deer population and a lot of work from a lot of agencies and the public together. We have a lot at stake here, from our local economies to our hunting traditions.
And it's going to take a lot of resolve, and it's going to take sort of a lot of dedication to make that happen. And there's going to be some really difficult conversations that go along with that. But as long as everybody has the same goal in mind, in terms of improving deer management, improving deer hunting, I think we can find some common ground in what that looks like. It's just the process leading up to it might be messy, but as long as we can recognize that everybody's viewing this from the same lens of wanting something better, then I think we have a lot more that keeps us together than would divide us.
And this Saturday, I'll be at the Curtis Lyons Fish Coop on South Manistee Lake starting at 9 a.m. They put over 1,000 rainbow trout in the lake for kids to catch through the ice. There's going to be a giant piñata, hot air balloon rides, and fireworks at dusk, so I hope to see you there.